Taxi rides from the airport will cost an extra $3 from next week in a bid to get more cabbies to Changi. Driving to Malaysia this VESAK Day weekend, ICA warns to expect delays at checkpoints. And expectations are high for Team Singapore at the SEA Games, with more gold medals up for grabs. Hello, you're watching The Big Story with me, Olivia Quay. Remember to subscribe to the Straits Times channel so you never miss an episode. From next Thursday, May 19th until June the 30th, you'll have to pay $3 more on the surcharge when taking a taxi from Changi Airport. Currently, such trips cost an additional $5 on Fridays, Saturdays and Sundays from 5 p.m. to before midnight, and an additional $3 at all other times. So the increased surcharge means rides from the airport will cost an additional $8 every day from 5 p.m. to before midnight, and an extra $6 at all other times. Well, this was announced by Changi Airport Group, which says comes amid a reluctance from cabbies to go to the airport to pick up passengers, despite a revival in international air travel. Transport correspondent Kok Yufeng is here. So Yufeng, why aren't the taxis returning to the airport terminals, especially when there's money to be made with more people travelling internationally these days?
I think from what the taxi drivers and operators have been telling me and my colleagues, there are a few factors at play here. So one, I think, is that COVID-19 has sort of changed the industry in a bit, in the sense that cabbies have been leaving the industry for over the past 2 years to seek other jobs, especially those driving the night shift and those driving maybe to Changi Airport as well. And so habits of these drivers have changed as well over the period of the past 2 years, given that there's been border closures and a lot of travellers coming to Singapore. So not many drivers will actually go to Changi Airport to pick up passengers. And so the recent revival in air travel and in economic activity has been quite sudden and quite abrupt. So I think what we're hearing is that more time is needed for operators to hire more drivers, as well as to for these drivers to build a habit of actually going back to Changi to pick up passengers. Another side effect of the increased activity that's been going on recently is that there's been a higher demand for cabs in all parts of Singapore, especially like the CBD, especially at night and on the weekends as well. So right now there's a bit of a lack of cabs and drivers around Singapore. So it's not just at the airport, but overall I think that the idea is that many drivers feel it's not worth it to go all the way to the Changi Airport to pick up passengers, because they can make money ferrying customers anywhere else in Singapore. And when they go to the airport, for example, they might have to wait for a few, maybe up to 38 minutes or 45 minutes for the flight to arrive, and they need to wait in line with the engine switched on. So given the high cost of fuel right now, this also makes it quite unappealing for them to go all the way to the airport to pick up passengers when they can earn more money elsewhere.
Right. So with all that said, do you think this move will bring more taxis to Changi Airport, or will it exacerbate the problem of a lack of taxis over there, given that passengers could opt for cheaper alternatives as well?
I think it's a bit hard to say at the moment whether or not the increase in surcharge will actually bring back more cabbies to Changi. The question is whether or not it's actually the $3 hike makes it worth it for cabbies to go back to Changi in the first place. And number two, I think there's also the issue of whether or not passengers may be put off with the higher fares, given that there's also prices going up for other goods and commodities as well. And so those with maybe a tighter budget might not be willing to pay that extra money. But I will say that I think Changi Airport Group has been putting out other incentives to attract cabbies to the airport. For example, giving them a $10 bonus if they make certain amount of trips in certain time periods, and offering free coffee in the morning. And these schemes will continue on until June as well. So I think the question really is whether or not these are effective, and I think it's hard to tell for now. Yeah.
Well, Yufeng, are you able to say what types of passengers would be affected the most by this move?
I would think that it affects actually all passengers travelling from Changi Airport to the city in Singapore, to elsewhere in Singapore. I would assume that maybe it affects tourists more or foreigners more, because they might not be able to access like apps like Grab or other transport options in Singapore. So they might be more reliant on taking a taxi. But I think it affects most commuters travelling out of Changi Airport at the moment. Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for weighing in, Yufeng. That was transport correspondent Kok Yufeng. If you're looking to travel to Malaysia over the VESAK Day long weekend, expect heavy traffic at the Woodlands and Tuas checkpoints. The Immigration and Checkpoints Authority advises travellers to adjust their travel plans to avoid being caught in jams where possible. People can also take the cross-border bus services instead of travelling in private vehicles. But if you're still planning on commuting via your own transport, these are what ICA sees as the peak periods. For departing traffic on Friday between 3 p.m. and 11:59 p.m. and between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m., as well as between 4 and 9 p.m. on Saturday. And when entering Singapore, heavy traffic can be expected on Sunday between 5 and 7 p.m. and Monday between 1 and 11:59 p.m. In other news, there will be a coroner's hearing on June the 9th into last year's fatal Tanjong Pagar car crash. The incident happened at around 5:40 a.m. on February the 13th. 5 men were in a white BMW M4 which crashed into a shop house along Tanjong Pagar Road and burst into flames. All 5 died. CCTV footage showed that the car appeared to be travelling at a high speed before the crash. Well, after a 6-month delay, the SEA Games in Hanoi is officially opening tonight. And with 1 gold medal already in the bag, expectations are high for Team Singapore following strong away showings in the previous 2 editions. In 2019, our athletes won 167 medals, 53 were gold. And the 2017 Games in Kuala Lumpur remains our best away performance, with 58 gold medals among the 188 medals Singapore got. So, how many medals will Team Singapore bring home from Hanoi, and how many of them will be gold? While sports administrators decline to set a medal target, the Straits Times believes our athletes have the potential to garner 45 gold medals. With more is sports correspondent Sazali Abdul Aziz, who's in Hanoi. So Saz, as you know, a chunk of Singapore's gold medals is usually from the pool. But in what other sports can we expect our athletes to medal this time to reach that 45 gold medal projection by the SG Sports team?
Yeah, hi Oli. So a number of sports are targeting more than 1 gold medal. Sports that we are traditionally quite successful in, namely table tennis, bowling, and shooting. There are also a few sports we have done very well on the international stage in recent years, namely billiards and pool, which are a few sports, as well as fencing. So we can expect multiple medals from them as well. And with combat sports featuring very heavily at this Hanoi SEA Games, we do expect sports like jiu-jitsu, silat, wushu to also chip in with a few gold medals there. In fact, silat obviously won our first gold medal with Iqbal Abdul Rahman in the men's artistic singles. So yeah, I mean, we are very hopeful that the Team Singapore athletes can do us proud.
So you mentioned Iqbal Abdul Rahman. Now he's a veteran of the SEA Games, but there are 243 Team Singapore debutants at this SEA Games. So Sazali, which rookie could possibly bring home a medal as well?
To be fair, I think a lot of them will medal. I think by virtue of actually earning qualifications to the SEA Games, that means they are contenders for medals. It's just a question of what color they bring home. And you know, it really depends on how their performance and preparation goes. Although I have to highlight that I was so happy that our youngest member of our contingent, which is 14-year-old Max Lee, 14 years, he won a silver medal in the men's 10-meter synchronized platform event. So, you know, it just shows that we have a very bright future ahead for Team Singapore.
Well, Sazali, now that you and the team are in Hanoi, you can see how things are being set up. How prepared is the host city for these games coming out of the pandemic? And are the athletes subject to any restrictions?
The city is definitely very welcoming, very motivated to host the games. There are a few teething issues in terms of logistics and, you know, let's just call them flexible scheduling with events moving times a day before they are due to take place. But again, this is sort of to be expected. First of all, at the SEA Games, and secondly, coming out of the pandemic. So things like this, we are able to adjust and adapt to. In terms of whether the athletes are restricted, yes, from what we understand, they have an advisory to basically travel from their accommodations to the training and competition venues and back, and no real R&R time. But at the same time, we have been able to sort of like rub shoulders with them, and we even had conversations with a Malaysian champion, a freshly minted champion, Syafiq Anak Putih in diving as well recently. Had a very nice friendly conversation, and he even offered us some of his halal food rations. So yeah, it's shaping up to be a very interesting and friendly games indeed.
Fantastic. Many thanks to sports correspondent Sazali Abdul Aziz. Now, the sports team will be bringing you all the Team Singapore results from the SEA Games. So keep up to date at straitstimes.com or Straits Times Sport on Instagram. Something for us to look forward to. Singapore will host the SEA Games in 2029. Singapore National Olympic Council President Tan Hsueh Yun says, quote, "The SEA Games holds special memories and experiences for Singapore and our Southeast Asian neighbours, and the camaraderie and rivalry we share are distinct." It was also announced that Malaysia has been selected to host the Games in 2027. Looking overseas, Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa says he will appoint a new Prime Minister and Cabinet this week, and that he will bring constitutional reforms to grant more power to Parliament. His statement follows comments from Sri Lanka's central bank governor earlier, who said he would quit within weeks unless political stability was restored. According to state media, North Korea confirmed its first COVID-19 outbreak today and ordered a nationwide lockdown. People in Pyongyang have reportedly contracted the Omicron variant, but there are no details on case numbers or possible sources of infection. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization says as at March, no cases of the virus have been reported in North Korea, and there's no official record of any North Koreans having been vaccinated. The collapse of a stablecoin called Terra USD has sent shockwaves across the cryptocurrency market. Terra, which is meant to maintain a one-to-one peg with the US dollar, crashed to a low of 20 cents on Wednesday. Well, it's been a tough few weeks for cryptocurrencies, with Bitcoin and Ethereum both falling over 50% since their record highs late last year.
I think the Federal Reserve hiking interest rates definitely has a strong contributing factor to what we're seeing in these markets. As we know, when the Fed pulls back liquidity, generally the risky assets do not perform as well. But for cryptocurrencies in particular, we noticed that they trade with a very high beta to technology stocks. So when the Fed was raising interest rates, you see that the NASDAQ was also one of the poorest performers this year. And I think that has a sentiment spill over to the cryptocurrency space. Of course, last year as well, one of the strong points supporting cryptocurrency was that it was a hedge against monetary debasement. So when the Fed was printing currency and cutting interest rates, it was very positive, a momentum driver for cryptocurrencies. Coming into this year, when the Fed is tightening monetary policy and also raising interest rates, that argument that you had last year kind of holds less water. And I think that's where you're seeing the sentiment shift to a bit more negative territory. For cryptocurrencies in particular, we are still in the early innings of what we are seeing as risk in the stablecoin market. As you've mentioned earlier, the Terra had lost its peg to the dollar, that one-to-one peg. One thing that's actually worth paying attention to is the other stablecoin Tether, which is the largest market cap stablecoin that we have today and accounts for about 70% of the stablecoin market. So over the last few days, we have seen that lose its peg against the dollar as well. So it remains to be seen whether this is going to continue to exacerbate the situation, knowing that stablecoin is kind of the key bridge between the cryptocurrency space and the fiat currency space. So this requires close watching.
It's important to stay hydrated in this warm weather, and for me, nothing beats the heat like a cold, refreshing drink. Food editor Tan Hsueh Yun has a pick that is perfect for hot days. So Hsueh, tell us about this thirst-quenching drink, or should I say dessert?
Well, it's both. So Four Seasons Cendol in Toa Payoh Lorong 8 Market packages its cendol in a cup like bubble tea. And I love the taste of it. It's not too sweet, the coconut milk is not too heavy, so you can drink it without feeling like, need a nap after having it. And it's perfect on a hot day because it's lots of ice in it. And you can, kind of like walk around, go about your own business and still stay hydrated.
And of course, another plus for us at the Straits Times is that it's very close to the office. Thanks so much to our food editor, Tan Hsueh Yun. If the hot weather is getting to you, why not stay at home, turn on the aircon and binge on your favorite new show? Journalist Jan Li joins us to talk about K-drama series Our Blues on Netflix. So Jan, what should I do about this one? Stream or skip it?
Okay, so Our Blues is quite a special type of K-drama. It's called an omnibus drama. So the format is a bit different from other K-dramas. So, in other K-dramas that would be like, we would follow like maybe 2 or 3 or 4 characters over the course of maybe say 16 episodes. But this drama, which is written by a very acclaimed writer, Noh Hee-kyung, is 20 episodes, and every different episodes features different storylines. So the first 3 episodes are on one particular set of characters, and then it sort of jumps through, it would go from this set of characters, and then maybe the next 2 episodes are another set of characters, and then another 2 episodes, another set of characters. But all of these stories are linked in the sense that the entire story is set in Jeju. So it's about all these people living together. They are all like neighbors or maybe like high school classmates or things like that. So all of their stories are linked in that sense. So it's quite special. And I think the most amazing part about this drama is just the insane cast. They have 7 main characters and every single one of the actors is like A-list. So I think that's really what's in it for people who are watching Our Blues.
Thanks for the review, journalist Jan Li there. The Singapore International Festival of Arts opens next week and there's something for everyone. Joining us is arts correspondent Toh Wen Li. So Wen Li, which shows are you most excited about?
Yeah, so this year the focus is on Ritual. It's titled The Anatomy of Performance Ritual, featuring local and international artists. And it marks the start of the new festival director Natalie Henadegay's 3-year tenure. So there's some shows I'm pretty curious and excited about. The first one is Mapan, which has been billed as a sonic and visual trip. So this is by the Singapore Chinese Orchestra and the Borneo-based Tuyang Initiative. And it's a celebration of indigenous music and vocal tradition from Southeast Asia. The second one I'm looking at is The Once and Future, which is a cinematic experience by Singapore filmmaker Yeo Siew Hua. And it features members of the well-known Berlin Philharmonic. Third one is Devil's Cherry. So it's the story of a Singapore couple who are on the road in Australia, and along the way, they've got to reckon with their personal demons, among other things. This is a new work by 2 theatre makers, Paul Ray and Kaylin Tan, who are obviously no stranger to Singapore. They founded the Singapore performance company Spell 7 a while back, but they have been based in Australia for about 10 years now. So I'd advise people to book their tickets early because some shows are already selling out.
Fantastic. That was arts correspondent Toh Wen Li. Now, if you like the look of big skies and blue waters, then check out the latest episode of First Flight Out. Namal Ghosh taking us across the stunning Chesapeake Bay, which covers parts of 6 US states. You'll find his story and video online at str.sg/life. Also visit straitstimes.com for more news and our YouTube channel. For more videos, subscribe by hitting the red button below. I'm Olivia Quay and I'll see you tomorrow for more stories on The Big Story.